Okay, so I just picked up, I'm going to use this type of salmon from Trader Joe's. I know some people want to see what kind that I use. I have used this a couple times now, and it, to this point, still has not had any fishy smell or anything to it, which is, a lot of people don't know that fish shouldn't really smell very much like fish. Little insider tip about fish for you. A little tiny bit of that smell is okay, but typically it shouldn't smell like fish. And this one does smell a tiny bit, but it's just got that salmon smell. It's not like a bad. It's got a couple days left on the date, so I'm just cutting these about kind of big. These are probably 7 ounces each, these two, and this one's about 5 to 6. Okay, so you may notice that a lot of my recipes that I have of different foods, I eyeball. I do more eyeballing than I do measuring stuff. I cooked for 20 years, and that's just how. So I start with salt. Hopefully you can see about how much I'm putting on. I'm kind of trying to make it so you can put like a coating of it, like a light coating all the way across. It's important to put it on before you cook it, because then it sort of soaks into it, sort of gets absorbed, and it sticks to it for cooking it. Garlic powder, and this is the powder, like the granulated, not the really, like the white colored stuff that's almost like flour, but this. So about the same amount as the salt. Hopefully you can see how much I'm putting there. Black pepper. Probably a little bit less black pepper than I did of the garlic powder and the salt. So about like that. And then I do a little bit of paprika. Gives it a nice color too. And it has a little bit of flavor to it. This also helps it to have a nice coating when you sear it in a pan. The spices actually help them to not stick. And then oregano. That was a little bit too much there. It just kind of poured out of here. I should have probably used a shaker, but and then I'll sear it off. Okay, so what I have in the pan here is about maybe a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil and probably half a tablespoon of butter. My preference is to use just all extra virgin olive oil. You can see just a little bit of smoke starting. That's when it's going to be good to go. But I ran out of olive oil when I made pesto, so that's what I had left, and so I'm using what I have. So the salmon's right here. I'm actually a righty, so I'm doing this a little awkward, but I just want to show you how to do it. Let's see. Now, in a pan with butter can burn a little bit more, and some people like that. A little trick you can do, though, is make some room and put one more in there like that. You know, obviously, if you have enough salmon to do that with, and that way it cools the pan down a little bit to stop the butter from burning a little. I don't mind a little of that burnt flavor, the bird noir that they call. And just know that if you do what I did and put this cutting board here, this will melt if it's by the stove. I just did that for since I'm shooting a video. But yeah, let these sear for not too long, 2-3 minutes or so, and they're really good to go that way. If you're a fanatic, you can kind of lean them up like this to get the side, like that. And you can do that with these if you want to. I'll do it for the sake of, since I'm doing a video, but you can do that. I'm trying to look through the camera and at the salmon at the same time, but yeah, so you can do that. And you see they've already got some nice, awesome color on them, so I'm going to put them on the pan. So here's that nice salmon that I just seared off. I don't even know how long that was. Maybe it was less than 2 minutes. It might have even just been a minute, but that's pretty good. You can kind of, it's one of those things you can mess with at home, and you can sear it longer if you want, if you like it to be a little bit more crispy, depending on your flavor. Some people like it more crispy, some less. But anyways, I'll show you a very simple glaze to put on top of this, which is just a little bit of honey. Let's see, probably about a tablespoon of honey. You won't want like raw honey that's too thick, because you want to. You'll see in a second. And then a little bit of Dijon, like a teaspoon would be ideal. I don't have that, so I've got some dry ground mustard. That'll work too. That kind of does two things. The mustard helps it to thicken slightly, so it doesn't roll right off the salmon. And it gives it a little extra flavor as well. Just mix that. You can see the honey is slightly thicker than it was a second ago. And then I would say about a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. I'm using this one from Trader Joe's. So that's about a teaspoon. And just mix this up like this. And if you want to be fanatical, you can put a little bit of the oregano, the garlic, and all that into this glaze if you want to. It won't make a big difference, but it'll add a tiny little bit more nice seasoning. But once this is mixed like this, then I just paint it onto the salmons. Make sure you can see it through the camera here. And just start at the top, because it's a little runny, so it wants to run off. And while I'm doing this, I have the oven heating up to 375 convection. And I'm going to do these for 12 minutes. I'm going to check them after 12 minutes. And then I'll leave them in for 2 or 3 more if they need it. Probably not. But the thing with when you cook something, the oven stays hot for a few minutes. So that's what I typically do, is I shoot for about where I think it should be. And then I'll check it. And then the oven's still going to be hot for another 10 minutes. So if I wanted to, I could cook these for a little more than 20 minutes, even when the oven shuts off after 12. And that kind of conserves a little bit of energy. But for me, I think after about 12 minutes, these will be good. And the other thing that you do is just feel them. They should be a little bit firm like this. You can see it kind of stays down when you push it, and then when it's cooked, it won't even really press down at all. Throw these in the oven, and I'll show you what they look like when they come out. Okay, here it is, the salmon right out of the oven. I have these other pans down so I don't burn the countertop, but there they are. Literally, the timer just went off because I wanted to be precise in the time to check for how done they were, since I said 375 for 12 minutes, and you can see pretty much perfect. See how it's springing back up like that? Especially this now. I'm actually going to have this now with the Caesar. If you like Caesar, I showed you how to make a pretty good tasting Caesar out of the store-bought packet at Target, and I'm going to have this with it. So I'll pick this up, and another cool thing with the salmon, if you do it like I did, is the skin comes off real easy. See, it's basically just falling off. If you're not a fan of the skin, you don't have to worry about trying to cut it off perfectly. It's usually always easier than it just looked right there. And then, since I did a video on how long to cook it, you can kind of see how it's cooked right there, hopefully. It's cooked all the way through, but still moist. And I cannot wait to start eating this now. This is one of my absolute favorite dishes right here. Salmon, the way that I just made it, and this Caesar salad that I just made. So if you do see both of these recipes, I highly recommend having them together sometime.